Hello everyone. Comment where you're watching from today. This story will show you why appearances can be deceiving and how true talent doesn't need fancy clothes or expensive accessories to shine. In the prestigious Metropolitan Gallery of Modern Art, where marble floors gleamed under crystal chandeliers and the walls showcased masterpieces worth millions, Timothy Snow worked diligently as the night janitor. His weathered hands, marked by years of honest labor, moved methodically across the floors, ensuring every surface sparkled like the finest diamonds. Despite his humble position, Timothy's eyes held a depth of knowledge that few noticed and fewer still bothered to understand. The gallery was preparing for its annual International Art Showcase, an event that attracted the most influential names in the art world. Beverly Davis, the gallery's newly appointed director, had been particularly stressed about making her mark. She'd hired additional security, ordered exotic flowers, and even replaced all the standard cleaning supplies with premium alternatives. Everything had to be perfect. That evening, as Timothy went about his usual routine, the gallery hosted a pre-event gathering for potential buyers and critics. Among them was Michael Washington, a notorious art critic known for his scathing reviews and elitist attitude. He moved through the gallery like a peacock, his designer suit and gold watch reflecting the overhead lights as he gestured dramatically while discussing various pieces with his entourage. Sarah Rose, a promising young artist whose work was being featured, stood nervously near her abstract painting, hoping to catch the attention of the right people. The atmosphere was thick with perfume, pretense, and the quiet murmur of sophisticated conversation. Timothy continued his work, carefully maneuvering around the guests with his cleaning cart. As he approached Sarah's display area, he paused briefly, his eyes studying the intricate layers of color and emotion in her work. A slight smile touched his lips. He recognized the technique, the subtle influence of the great masters combined with a modern twist. Michael Washington noticed the janitor's lingering gaze and couldn't resist the opportunity to assert his superiority. "Fascinating, isn't it?" he said loudly, drawing attention from nearby guests. "Though I doubt someone in your position could truly appreciate the complexities of modern abstract expressionism." The gallery fell quiet. Beverly Davis shifted uncomfortably, while Sarah Rose's cheeks flushed with embarrassment at the critic's rudeness. Timothy simply continued his work, his movements deliberate and dignified. "Tell me," Michael pressed on, clearly enjoying his audience, "what exactly do you see in this piece? The metaphysical manifestation of postmodern anxiety, the deconstruction of societal norms through color theory." His voice dripped with sarcasm. Timothy straightened up slowly, his eyes never leaving the painting. "I see a soul in pain," he said quietly, "searching for light through layers of darkness. The technique reminds me of Willem de Kooning's early work, though the color palette is more reminiscent of Rothko's transitional period." The silence in the gallery deepened. Michael Washington's smirk faltered slightly. "The brush strokes here," Timothy continued, gesturing to a particularly complex section, "show a masterful understanding of impasto technique, while the underlying geometry suggests a strong influence from the Russian constructivists. It's quite impressive, actually." Lisa Wallace, a prominent gallery owner from New York, stepped forward. "You seem quite knowledgeable about art history," she observed, her interest piqued. "One picks up a few things over the years," Timothy replied modestly, returning to his cleaning cart. Michael Washington, refusing to be upstaged, laughed derisively. Well, we have ourselves a janitor-turned-art expert. Perhaps you'd like to give us a demonstration of your expertise." He gestured mockingly toward a blank canvas that had been set up for the next day's live painting demonstration. Beverly Davis attempted to intervene, but Timothy was already moving toward the canvas. The gallery guests watched in a mixture of curiosity and second-hand embarrassment as he picked up a brush from the nearby supply table. What happened next would be talked about in art circles for years to come. Timothy's hand moved across the canvas with the confidence of a master. Each stroke was purposeful, each color choice deliberate. The painting seemed to emerge from the canvas, as if it had always been there, waiting to be revealed. As he worked, a figure appeared in the gallery entrance. Bruce Willis himself, one of the most respected collectors in the modern art world. He stood silently, watching the scene unfold with intense interest. Timothy's painting took shape, a haunting, beautiful piece that combined classical technique with contemporary vision. The gallery guests stood transfixed, watching as a masterpiece emerged before their eyes. When he finally stepped back from the canvas, the silence was absolute. Bruce Willis walked forward, his footsteps echoing on the marble floor. "I was wondering when you'd pick up a brush again, old friend," he said, placing a hand on Timothy's shoulder. Michael Washington's face had lost all color. You know him," he stammered. Bruce smiled. "Know him?" Timothy Snow was once considered the most promising artist of his generation. His works hang in museums around the world. But after a personal tragedy, he stepped away from the spotlight. Preferring to live a simpler life, Sarah Rose stepped forward, her eyes wide with recognition. "The Snow technique, the layering method we studied in art school. That was you?" Timothy nodded modestly. "We all find our own paths in life," he said quietly. "Sometimes the greatest peace comes from stepping away from the spotlight." Beverly Davis was already on her phone, canceling the next day's demonstration artist. "Mr. Snow," she said, "would you consider being our featured artist tomorrow?" Bruce Willis laughed. "You might have to convince him. Tim's never been one for the limelight, have you, old friend?" The gallery was buzzing now as people began to realize they were in the presence of a living legend. Michael Washington had quietly slipped away, his earlier arrogance replaced by shame. The world of art isn't about fancy clothes or expensive watches, Bruce addressed the crowd. It's about the ability to see beauty in everything, to find meaning in the ordinary, and to respect every person's journey. Tim taught me that many years ago. Timothy returned to his cleaning cart, but this time the gallery guests stepped aside respectfully. Some even bowed slightly as he passed. Sarah Rose approached him with tears in her eyes, asking if he would consider mentoring her. The next day, Timothy Snow's demonstration would draw record crowds to the gallery. His return to the art world would make headlines, but those who were there that night remembered something more important. They learned that true greatness often hides in the most unexpected places, and that kindness and humility are the marks of a truly great artist. So, dear viewers, let us know in the comments, have you ever misjudged someone based on their appearance or job? How did you feel when you discovered the truth about them? Remember, every person has a story, and every story deserves to be heard with respect. Paul Hansen, a young art student who witnessed the event, would later write in his blog, "That night changed how I look at every person I meet. You never know what amazing talents and stories lie behind a modest exterior." Timothy Snow taught us all that the greatest masterpieces often come from the humblest beginnings. The Metropolitan Gallery of Modern Art would go on to establish the Snow Scholarship, providing opportunities for talented artists from all walks of life. And Timothy? He continued his work as a janitor, but now also taught evening classes at the gallery, sharing his wisdom with a new generation of artists. As for Michael Washington, he published a lengthy apology in his next column, admitting that his greatest lesson in art came not from any university or museum, but from a janitor who taught him that true art transcends social status and fancy titles. The painting Timothy created that night now hangs in the gallery's main hall, a testament to the power of humility and the unexpected ways in which greatness reveals itself. Below it, a small plaque reads, "Art, like truth, can be found in the most unexpected places." Timothy Snow. Bruce Willis would later reveal in an interview that he had been following Timothy's work for years, quietly collecting the few pieces he created during his time away from the art world. "Some artists paint to be seen," he said. "Timothy painted because his soul demanded it. That's what makes him truly great." Lisa Wallace eventually convinced Timothy to allow her gallery to host a small exhibition of his work, with all proceeds going to art education programs for underprivileged children. The show would become one of the most talked about events of the year, not just for the artwork, but for the message it sent to the art world about the true nature of talent and dignity. And so, the story of the janitor who stunned the art world became a reminder that greatness doesn't need to announce itself. It simply is, waiting to be discovered by those wise enough to look past the surface. Remember, viewers, the next time you see someone in a humble position, take a moment to look deeper. You might just be in the presence of greatness. Share this video if you believe in the power of treating everyone with respect, regardless of their job or appearance. And Timothy Snow, he still works as a janitor at the gallery, his skilled hands keeping the floors spotless, his artist's eyes watching over the masterpieces, and his humble heart continuing to teach all who meet him that true art, like true character, knows no social boundaries. Leave a comment below sharing your thoughts on this incredible story of hidden talent and the importance of looking beyond appearances. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more inspiring real-life stories that remind us of the extraordinary potential within every ordinary moment. Because sometimes the greatest artists aren't found in the spotlight. They're found quietly, creating beauty in their own way, on their own terms, reminding us all that true greatness needs no announcement. It simply is. The morning after Timothy Snow's remarkable revelation at the Metropolitan Gallery of Modern Art dawned with an electric atmosphere. Word had spread through social media like wildfire, and a crowd had already gathered outside the gallery's ornate doors 2 hours before opening time. Among them was Andrew Liu, a documentary filmmaker who had been searching for his next subject. The gallery's marble halls, freshly polished to perfection by Timothy's careful hands the night before, were about to witness another extraordinary day. Eric Carrillo, the gallery's head of security, had to call in extra staff to manage the growing crowd. The air buzzed with anticipation as people waited to catch a glimpse of the janitor-turned-art sensation. Catherine McGrath, a veteran art journalist from the Daily Culture, arrived early, her press badge gleaming as she made her way through a crowd. She'd witnessed countless art world sensations over her 30-year career, but something about this story felt different. It wasn't just about hidden talent, it was about humanity itself. Inside, Beverly Davis was frantically coordinating with her staff. The demonstration space had been expanded, additional seating brought in, and a sophisticated camera system set up to project Timothy's work onto large screens throughout the gallery. Chad Lamb, the technical director, worked tirelessly to ensure every angle would be perfectly captured. Robin Baker, a local art teacher, had brought her entire advanced placement class, believing this would be a once-in-a-lifetime learning opportunity. Her students whispered excitedly among themselves, sketching in their notebooks as they waited. At precisely 8:45 a.m., 15 minutes before the gallery's opening, Timothy Snow arrived through the service entrance, dressed in his usual janitor's uniform. David Smith, one of the security guards, respectfully nodded as Timothy passed. "Quite a crowd out there for you, Mr. Snow," he said softly. Timothy smiled gently, his weathered hands gripping his mop. "The floors won't clean themselves," he replied, beginning his morning routine as if it were any other day. Bruce Willis arrived, shortly after, accompanied by Cynthia Guzman, a renowned art curator from the Museum of Modern Art. They found Timothy in the East Wing, methodically cleaning around a sculpture installation. "You know you don't have to do this anymore," Bruce said, watching his old friend work. Timothy straightened up, his eyes twinkling. "This is exactly what I need to do," he replied. "Art isn't about glory or recognition. It's about dedication, routine, and finding beauty in the everyday." As the gallery doors opened, the crowd poured in with controlled excitement. Angel Martinez, a young street artist who had sneaked in among the press, watched in awe as Timothy continued his cleaning routine, completely unbothered by the attention. The demonstration was scheduled for 11 a.m., giving Timothy time to complete his morning duties. John McCarthy, the gallery's event coordinator, had arranged the space perfectly. A large canvas stood ready, surrounded by an array of professional-grade supplies that would make any artist envious. Lisa Wallace, who had witnessed the previous night's events, had returned with several influential collectors. Among them was Robert Simpson, whose private collection was valued at over $300 million. They watched with interest as Timothy finally set aside his cleaning supplies and approached the demonstration area. The crowd fell silent as Timothy picked up a brush. He closed his eyes for a moment, and when he opened them, the transformation was subtle but profound. His posture shifted slightly, his grip on the brush both delicate and confident. "Today," he addressed the audience for the first time, his voice soft but carrying clearly through the hushed gallery, "I'd like to show you how art exists in everything around us. Even in the simple act of cleaning a floor, there is rhythm, pattern, and beauty." What followed was unlike any art demonstration anyone had ever witnessed. Timothy began to paint, but he also began to teach. He spoke about finding inspiration in the ordinary, about how his years as a janitor had taught him to see patterns and textures that others might miss. Deborah Kelly, an art critic known for her harsh judgments, found herself wiping away tears as Timothy explained how the repetitive motion of mopping had influenced his brush technique. "In both cleaning and painting," he said, "we reveal what lies beneath. We bring forth the essential truth of a surface." The painting took shape, a stunning interpretation of the gallery's main hall, but seen from a unique perspective. The marble floors became rivers of light. The cleaning cart transformed into a chariot of colors, and the simple act of cleaning became a dance of shadows and illumination. Mary Reed, a struggling artist in the audience, frantically took notes as Timothy explained his technique. His method wasn't just about paint application. It was about seeing the world differently, about finding dignity and beauty in every task, no matter how mundane. Bruce Willis stood at the back of the room, watching with pride as his old friend commanded the space not through authority or arrogance, but through genuine wisdom and skill. Next to him, Bianca Andrews, a gallery owner from Chicago, whispered, "I've never seen anything like this." As the demonstration continued, Timothy shared stories from his years of working in the gallery. He spoke about the conversations he'd had with the artworks late at night, about how each painting held different secrets in different lights. He explained how his mop had taught him more about movement and flow than any art class ever could. The audience was spellbound. Jack Fisher, a wealthy collector known for his sharp business acumen, found himself rethinking his entire approach to art acquisition. It wasn't about value or prestige anymore. It was about the soul of the piece, the truth it revealed. In the crowd, Isaiah Allen, a maintenance worker from a neighboring building, stood proudly in his uniform. Timothy's story had given him a new perspective on his own work, a new way to see the dignity in every task. As the demonstration neared its end, Timothy added his final touches to the painting. The piece was a masterwork, but it was the lesson behind it that had transformed the audience. He had shown them that art wasn't about status or gallery walls. It was about seeing the extraordinary in the ordinary, about finding beauty in every corner of life. Catherine McGrath approached Timothy afterward, her notepad full of hastily scribbled observations. "You've changed how people will think about art," she said, "but more importantly, you've changed how they'll think about the people around them." The impact of Timothy's demonstration rippled through the art world. Kyle Arnold, a prominent gallery owner, immediately announced a new initiative to provide art supplies and training to maintenance staff across the city's cultural institutions. "Who knows how many other Timothy Snows are out there," he said to the press. Beverly Davis watched as Timothy quietly packed up his supplies and returned to his cleaning cart. The demonstration was over, but the daily work of maintaining the gallery's beauty continued. She understood now that this was not just duty for Timothy, it was part of his art, part of his practice. Eric Horn, a visiting professor from the National Art Academy, approached Timothy with a proposal to teach a master class. Timothy's response surprised him. "I already teach every day," he said, gesturing to his mop. "Every surface is a canvas, every task a lesson in seeing beauty." The day wound down, but the energy in the gallery remained electric. Laurie Richardson, a member of the gallery's board of directors, had already begun drafting a proposal to establish a permanent installation dedicated to the intersection of art and everyday labor. As the last visitors left, Bruce Willis found Timothy in the north wing, carefully mopping around a sculpture. "You've started a revolution, old friend," he said. Timothy smiled, continuing his work. "No," he replied. "I've just reminded people of something they already knew but had forgotten. That beauty and dignity exist everywhere, in every task, in every person. We just need to have the eyes to see it and the heart to honor it." That evening, as Timothy finished his shift, he looked at his reflection in the freshly polished floor. The same hands that had created masterpieces had also maintained the beauty of this space day after day, year after year. Both were equally important, equally artistic, equally dignified. Mary Ruiz, the gallery's night guard, watched as Timothy finally gathered his things to leave. "Will you still be here tomorrow?" she asked, voicing the question many had wondered. "Of course," Timothy replied with a gentle smile. "These floors won't clean themselves, and every day is a new canvas." As he walked home in the gathering dusk, Timothy reflected on the day's events. He had shown them his art, yes, but more importantly, he had shown them that art existed everywhere, in the sweep of a mop, in the polish of a floor, in the dignity of work well done. The story of Timothy Snow, the janitor who stunned the art world, would be told and retold. But perhaps its greatest impact was not in the art he created on canvas, but in how he helped people see the artistry in every aspect of life, in every person they met, in every task they performed. For in the end, that was Timothy's greatest masterpiece, not the paintings he created, but the way he helped others see the world anew, with eyes open to the beauty that had always been there, waiting to be recognized, waiting to be honored, waiting to be seen. Leave a comment below if this story has changed how you see the people around you, especially those whose work often goes unnoticed. Share this video to spread the message that true art, like true dignity, exists in every corner of life, waiting to be discovered by those wise enough to look with their hearts as well as their eyes. Remember, the next time you pass someone doing what might seem like ordinary work, take a moment to see the artistry in their movements, the dignity in their dedication, the beauty in their service. For as Timothy Snow showed us, every life is a canvas, every task a brushstroke, and every person an artist in their own right. The impact of Timothy Snow's revelation continued to ripple through the art world like waves in a still pond. 1 week after his demonstration, the Metropolitan Gallery of Modern Art had transformed into a hub of unprecedented activity. Patrick Gibson, the gallery's marketing director, found himself fielding calls from media outlets worldwide, all eager to tell the story of the janitor who had revolutionized the art world's perspective. Lisa Quinn, a documentary producer from National Geographic, had set up a small film crew in the gallery, capturing Timothy's daily routine. What fascinated her most wasn't just his artistic talent, but the seamless way he balanced his newfound fame with his unwavering dedication to his janitorial duties. The morning light filtered through the gallery's skylights as Timothy arrived for his shift, nodding quietly to Jennifer Bell, the new security guard who had started just days after his revelation. She watched in amazement as he declined yet another interview request, instead focusing on preparing his cleaning supplies for the day ahead. Bruce Willis had become a regular presence at the gallery, often arriving early to share a quiet cup of coffee with his old friend before the day began. This morning he brought along Chad Price, a renowned art therapist who believed Timothy's story could revolutionize how art was used in healing. "Your approach to finding beauty in routine tasks," Chad explained, watching Timothy methodically. "Check his cleaning supplies could help people struggling with anxiety and depression. It's about finding meaning in the everyday." Timothy listened thoughtfully while preparing his mop water. "Every splash of water on these floors tells a story," he replied. "Just like every brush stroke on canvas, every cleaning motion is part of a larger picture." Lacey Orozco, a local high school art teacher, had brought another group of students to observe Timothy work. Unlike traditional art classes, these sessions involved watching him clean as much as watching him paint. The students sat quietly, sketching in their notebooks as Timothy moved through his morning routine. "Notice the rhythm," Timothy called out softly to the students as he worked. "The same principles that guide a brush across canvas guide this mop across the floor. It's all about movement, intention, and respect for the surface you're working with." Catherine Morrow, an art historian from the Smithsonian, had spent the past week documenting Timothy's techniques, both in cleaning and painting. She was particularly fascinated by how his years of janitorial work had influenced his artistic style. "The way you approach a canvas," she observed, "mirrors how you approach cleaning these floors. There's a meditative quality to both." Timothy nodded, continuing his work. "Each task deserves full attention and respect," he replied. "Whether you're creating a masterpiece or cleaning a floor, the key is to be fully present in the moment." The gallery had begun offering a unique new program conceived by Aaron Sanders, the education coordinator. The art of the everyday combined. Traditional art classes with lessons in mindfulness and appreciation for routine tasks. The waiting list had grown to hundreds of names within days. Michael Wright, a corporate executive who had initially scoffed at the program, found himself transformed after just one session. "I've spent years rushing through life, missing the beauty in simple moments," he admitted to Beverly Davis. "Timothy's approach has changed how I see everything." As the morning progressed, Timothy moved through the gallery with his usual quiet efficiency. Sarah Torres, a performance artist who had come to observe him, was struck by the choreography of his movements. "It's like watching a dance," she whispered to her companion. "Every motion has purpose and grace." Bruce Willis watched from his usual spot near the Renaissance section, remembering the young artist Timothy had been decades ago. "You haven't changed," he said when Timothy passed by. "You've always seen the extraordinary in the ordinary. The only difference is now others can see it too." The gallery had transformed in other ways as well. Under Beverly Davis's direction, they had launched an initiative to highlight the contributions of all their maintenance staff. Mason Collins, the head of facility management, had been moved to tears when his team's photographs and stories were displayed alongside priceless artworks. Timothy has shown us that every person who maintains this space is part of its artistic legacy, Beverly explained to Stephen Reynolds, a visiting museum director. They're not just maintaining the gallery, they're participating in an ongoing performance of care and dedication. Around midday, a group of international art critics arrived, led by Paul Hansen, editor of Modern Art Review. They found Timothy cleaning the contemporary wing, his movements as precise and thoughtful as any artist's brushstrokes. "We've been looking at art all wrong," Paul declared after watching Timothy work for an hour. "We've separated the creation of beauty from the maintenance of beauty when they're really part of the same continuous process." Timothy's influence had begun to spread beyond the art world. Stephen Richardson, a corporate consultant, had started incorporating Timothy's principles into workplace motivation seminars. "It's about finding dignity and purpose in every task," he explained to his clients. "Whether you're cleaning floors or running a company, approach each moment as an opportunity to create something beautiful." The afternoon light cast long shadows through the gallery as Timothy prepared for his daily demonstration. Unlike the first day, these sessions now focused as much on his cleaning technique as his painting. Cynthia Jackson, a mindfulness coach, had begun incorporating his methods into her practice. "Watch how he approaches each task," she instructed her clients. "There's no hierarchy in his movements. Whether he's creating art or cleaning, every action carries the same weight of attention and care." Bruce Willis had noticed another change in his old friend. Though Timothy remained as humble as ever, there was a new light in his eyes, the satisfaction of someone whose silent wisdom had finally found its audience. "You're teaching them more than art," Bruce observed, as they watched a group of students attempting to mop with the same mindful attention Timothy demonstrated. "You're teaching them how to see the sacred in the ordinary." Timothy smiled, adjusting a student's grip on a mop handle. "Every surface reflects light differently," he explained to the group, "just as every canvas accepts paint differently. The key is to listen to what each surface tells you." As the day drew to a close, Aaron Berry, a wealthy collector, approached Timothy with an offer to fund a permanent installation dedicated to the intersection of maintenance and art. Timothy's response was characteristic. "The gallery itself is already that installation. Every cleaned surface, every maintained space is part of the ongoing artwork." The evening light created new patterns on the freshly cleaned floors as the last visitors departed. Lisa Wallace returned, having spent the week reflecting on the night. She first witnessed Timothy's revelation. "You've started something revolutionary," she told him as he prepared to leave for the day. "People are beginning to see beauty in places they never looked before." Timothy packed away his cleaning supplies with the same care others might show to expensive art materials. "Beauty has always been there," he replied. "Sometimes we just need permission to see it." That night, as Timothy walked home, he passed Jack Fisher, now taking a moment to appreciate the way streetlights reflected off rain-slicked pavements. The world was beginning to see what Timothy had always known, that art wasn't confined to galleries and museums, but existed in every mindful moment, every careful action, every task performed with attention and respect. The next morning would bring more cameras, more observers, more students, eager to learn the art of mindful action. But for Timothy, it would begin as every day had for years, with the simple, profound task of maintaining beauty, one cleaned surface at a time. As the story of Timothy Snow continued to spread, it carried with it a profound message that true artistry isn't about the grandeur of the final product, but about the attention and care brought to each moment of creation, whether that creation was a painted masterpiece or a perfectly cleaned floor. Leave a comment below, sharing how this story has changed your perspective on everyday tasks. Has it helped you find beauty in places you previously overlooked? Remember to like and subscribe for more stories that remind us that extraordinary wisdom often hides in the most ordinary places. And remember, as Timothy Snow has shown us, every moment is an opportunity to create beauty, every task a chance to practice artistry, and every person a potential master of their own unique craft. The only question is, are we paying enough attention to see the masterpiece in the making? 1 month after Timothy Snow's extraordinary revelation, the Metropolitan Gallery of Modern Art had become more than just a space for displaying artwork. It had transformed into a living testament to the intersection of art and everyday life. The morning sun streamed through the skylights, casting ethereal patterns on the floors that Timothy had polished to perfection the night before. Bianca Andrews, the gallery's new artist-in-residence, arrived early to find Timothy already at work, his movements as graceful as any dancer's. She had abandoned her planned exhibition series to instead document the poetry she found in Timothy's daily routines. "The way you perform each task," she observed, sketching rapidly in her notebook, "it's like watching a master at work with an invisible brush." Bruce Willis arrived shortly after, accompanied by Eric Horn, a prominent philanthropist who had been deeply moved by Timothy's story. They found Timothy in the Renaissance wing, carefully cleaning around a centuries-old sculpture. "We've been thinking," Bruce began, watching his friend work, "about establishing a foundation, not just for art education, but for recognizing and celebrating the artistry in everyday work." Timothy paused, his mop suspended mid-stroke. "Every job has its own rhythm, its own beauty," he replied thoughtfully. "The key is helping people find it." The gallery had become a hub for a new movement in the art world. John Nelson, a curator from the Museum of Modern Art, had organized a groundbreaking exhibition titled The Art of Labor, featuring works that celebrated the beauty of everyday tasks. Mary Ruiz, one of the gallery's longtime security guards, had discovered her own artistic voice, inspired by Timothy's example. Her photographs of her colleagues at work had become an unexpected highlight of the exhibition. "Timothy taught me to see the extraordinary in our ordinary moments," she explained to Robin Baker, a visiting art critic. "Every person maintaining this space is creating their own masterpiece." The morning's first tour group arrived, led by Andrew Pierce, an art historian who had completely revamped his usual gallery tour to incorporate Timothy's philosophy. The visitors watched in respectful silence as Timothy demonstrated how the simple act of cleaning a window could become a meditation on light and transparency. "Notice how he approaches each surface," Andrew explained to his group. "There's no hierarchy in his attention. A priceless painting and a simple window pane receive the same care, the same respect." Beverly Davis had transformed the gallery's educational program under Timothy's influence. Isaiah Allen, a former janitor turned art teacher, now led workshops on finding creativity in routine tasks. His classes had a waiting list months long. Timothy showed us that art isn't just about creating something new, Isaiah told his students. It's about bringing attention and care to every moment, every action. The impact of Timothy's revelation had spread far beyond the art world. Chad Lamb, a corporate executive, had implemented a revolutionary new training program in his company. Based on Timothy's principles of mindful work, "We've seen incredible changes," he reported to Bruce Willis during a gallery visit. "Productivity is up, but more importantly, people have found new meaning in their work. They're not just doing tasks anymore, they're practicing their own form of artistry." Timothy continued his daily routine, unaffected by the attention his story had garnered. Lacey Orozco, a documentary filmmaker, had been following him for weeks, amazed by his ability to maintain his humble approach despite his growing influence. Every surface has its own character, Timothy explained as he worked, his voice soft but carrying clearly in the hushed gallery. Just like every canvas has its own texture, every floor, every window, every handrail has its own story to tell. Our job is to listen and respond appropriately. Bruce Willis watched his old friend with pride, remembering the fiery young artist Timothy had been decades ago. "You've achieved more by stepping away from traditional art than most artists achieve in a lifetime of exhibitions," he observed. Timothy smiled, wringing out his mop with practiced precision. "I never stepped away from art," he replied. "I just found it in different places." The afternoon brought a special event to the gallery. Jennifer Bell, the education coordinator, had organized a unique workshop where maintenance staff from various cultural institutions gathered to share their experiences and perspectives on finding artistry in their work. Lisa Wallace, who had witnessed Timothy's first revelation, had returned to document the workshop for an international art journal. "What we're seeing here," she explained to her readers, "is nothing less than a revolution in how we perceive the relationship between art and labor." Timothy moved through the workshop participants, offering gentle guidance and encouragement. "Don't try to make your work artistic," he advised. "Instead, discover the artistry that's already there in every motion, every decision, every moment of care." The event had drawn attention from unexpected quarters. Sarah Rose, a renowned ballet choreographer, sat sketching Timothy's movements, finding inspiration for a new piece about the dance of daily labor. "There's such grace in his efficiency," she remarked to Bruce. "Every motion has purpose, yet there's nothing mechanical about it. It's like watching a performance that never ends." As the afternoon light began to fade, casting new shadows across the gallery's marble floors, Timothy prepared for his daily demonstration. But unlike traditional art demonstrations, this one began with him preparing his cleaning cart. "Art isn't separate from life," he explained to the gathered crowd. "It's not something that happens only in studios or on stages. It's in how we approach every task, every interaction, every moment." The audience watched in rapt attention as Timothy transformed the mundane act of mopping into a meditation on movement and purpose. David Smith, a skeptical art critic who had come to debunk what he called the janitor phenomenon, found himself moved to tears. "I came looking for a gimmick," he admitted later. "Instead, I found a master teaching us how to see the sacred in the everyday." The gallery had begun offering evening sessions where visitors could participate in maintaining the space, learning to approach cleaning tasks with the same mindfulness Timothy demonstrated. Catherine McGrath, who had been documenting these sessions, noted how people from all walks of life found themselves transformed by the experience. "It's not about the task itself," one participant told her. "It's about the attention, the care, the recognition that every action can be an expression of creativity and respect." As the day drew to a close, Bruce Willis found Timothy in the modern wing, carefully storing his cleaning supplies. "You've started something remarkable," Bruce said. "People are beginning to see their own lives differently." Timothy nodded thoughtfully. "Every person has their own masterpiece to create," he replied. "Sometimes it's painted on canvas, sometimes it's written in the shine of a well-maintained floor. The medium doesn't matter. It's the attention and care we bring to it." The next morning would bring more visitors, more students eager to learn, more people seeking to understand how a simple janitor had triggered such a profound shift in how we perceive art and labor. But for Timothy, it would begin as every day had for years, with the simple, sacred task of maintaining beauty in his corner of the world. Leave a comment below, sharing how this story has changed your perspective on your own daily work. Have you discovered the artistry in your routine tasks? Remember to like and subscribe for more stories that help us see the extraordinary in the ordinary. And remember, as Timothy Snow continues to teach us, Every job can be a masterpiece if approached with attention and respect. The question isn't whether there's beauty in what we do. It's whether we have the wisdom to see it and the courage to honor it. The story of Timothy Snow, the janitor who revolutionized how we think about art and labor, continues to inspire people around the world. But perhaps its greatest impact is in the quiet moments when someone pauses in their daily tasks to recognize the potential for beauty and meaning in their own work. As the gallery lights dimmed and the last visitors departed, Timothy's freshly cleaned floors reflected the evening light like mirrors, each surface telling its own story of care and attention. In these quiet moments, the truth of his message became clearest: that art isn't something we create separate from life. It's how we choose to live each moment, approach each task, and honor each opportunity to bring beauty into the world. Share this video if you believe that every person has the potential to transform their daily work into an expression of creativity and care. Together, we can help spread Timothy's message that true artistry isn't confined to galleries and museums. It's available to anyone willing to approach their work with mindfulness and respect. 6 months after Timothy Snow first revealed his extraordinary talent to the world, the Metropolitan Gallery of Modern Art prepared for an unprecedented event. The gallery's marble halls, still maintained daily by Timothy's careful hands, were about to host the opening of The Art of Being, a retrospective of work and wonder. Aaron Berry, now the gallery's chief curator of special exhibitions, had worked closely with Bruce Willis to create something entirely new, a multimedia experience that celebrated not just Timothy's paintings, but the profound impact his philosophy had on the art world and beyond. The morning light filtered through the skylights as Timothy arrived for his usual early shift. Chad Price, who had been documenting the gallery's transformation over the past months, watched as Timothy began his routine with the same quiet dedication he had shown before his rise to fame. "You know," Bruce Willis said, joining Timothy as he prepared his cleaning supplies, "tonight's exhibition will change how galleries approach art forever. And yet here you are, still beginning your day the same way." Timothy smiled, measuring out his cleaning solution with practiced precision. "Every day is an opportunity to create beauty," he replied. "Tonight's exhibition is just one way of sharing that truth." The gallery had been transformed. Andrew Liu, the exhibition designer, had created innovative displays that showcased not only Timothy's paintings, but also time-lapse videos of his daily work, demonstrating how his artistic vision manifested in both spheres. Beverly Davis moved through the space, directing the final preparations. "We've never done anything like this before," she explained to Lisa Quinn, a journalist from Art World magazine. "This isn't just about displaying art. It's about challenging our entire understanding of what art can be." The exhibition had drawn international attention. Robert Simpson, a renowned museum director from Paris, had flown in specifically for the opening. "What Timothy Snow has done," he observed watching Timothy work, "is bridge the gap between art as object and art as practice. It's revolutionary." Throughout the morning, Timothy continued his regular duties, undistracted by the bustling preparation. Around him, Sarah Torres, a young artist who had been profoundly influenced by Timothy's story, sat sketching his movements, trying to capture the fluid grace of his work. "Every motion has purpose," Timothy explained, as he demonstrated his mopping technique to a group of art students. "Whether you're applying paint to canvas or cleaning a floor, the key is to be fully present in each moment." Bruce Willis watched his old friend with pride. The exhibition would feature several of Timothy's new paintings, works created during his pre-dawn hours at the gallery, alongside photographs and videos of his janitorial work. The juxtaposition was powerful, showing how the same artistic Principles governed both activities. Catherine Morrow, who had spent months studying Timothy's technique, had contributed an insightful analysis to the exhibition catalogue. "What we're seeing," she wrote, "is not just a fusion of art and labor, but a fundamental reconceptualization of what constitutes artistic practice." As the day progressed, more press arrived. John McCarthy, leading a team from International Arts Review, set up their equipment to capture the final preparations. Timothy continued his work, his movements becoming part of the pre-exhibition documentation. "Notice how he approaches each task," Bruce explained to the journalists. "There's no distinction between his artistic work and his regular work. It's all one continuous expression of creativity and care." The exhibition design was groundbreaking. Paul Hansen had created interactive installations that allowed visitors to experience the meditative aspects of routine tasks. Cleaning supplies were displayed alongside fine art materials, each with detailed descriptions of their role in Timothy's practice. Mary Reed, a performance artist who had been inspired by Timothy's story, had choreographed a piece that would be performed at the opening. "It's about finding the extraordinary in ordinary movements," she explained during rehearsal. "Timothy showed us that every action can be art if approached with awareness." As afternoon approached, Timothy took a brief break to speak with Eric Carrillo, a documentary filmmaker who had been following his story from the beginning. "People ask me if success has changed my approach to work," Timothy reflected, "but this isn't about success. It's about recognizing the beauty that was always there." The exhibition included a recreation of Timothy's cleaning cart, positioned next to his easel, and paints. "These are all my tools," he explained to Robin Baker, who was writing a feature for the Art Journal. "Each one is an instrument for bringing out the beauty that exists in every surface." Bruce Willis had ensured that the exhibition maintained the perfect balance between celebrating Timothy's influence and respecting his humble approach. "We're not just showcasing an artist," Bruce explained to the press. "We're showcasing a way of seeing the world." As evening approached, Timothy completed his regular duties and prepared for the opening. Jennifer Bell, who had helped coordinate the event, watched in amazement as he gave the same attention to last-minute cleaning as he did to adjusting the lighting on his paintings. "Every detail matters," Timothy said, noticing her observation. "The cleanliness of the floor is as much a part of the exhibition as any painting on the walls." The opening drew an unprecedented crowd. Isaiah Allen, now a regular lecturer at the gallery, led groups through the exhibition, helping them understand the philosophical implications of Timothy's approach to art and work. "What we're seeing here," Isaiah explained, "is a complete dissolution of the boundary between art and life. Timothy has shown us that these were never truly separate." The exhibition's centerpiece was a large-scale installation that combined video projections of Timothy's daily work with his latest paintings. David Smith, who had designed the multimedia display, had captured the way Timothy's cleaning motions mirrored his brushwork. "It's all one dance," Timothy explained to a group of admirers. "Whether I'm moving a mop or a brush, I'm participating in the same conversation with space and movement." As the evening progressed, the impact of Timothy's influence became increasingly clear. Stephen Reynolds, a corporate consultant who had implemented Timothy's principles in workplace training programs, shared remarkable results. "People have found new meaning in their work," he reported. "They've discovered their own artistry." Bruce Willis took the podium for a brief speech. "6 months ago, Timothy Snow showed us something we should have always known, that art isn't confined to galleries and museums. It exists in every mindful action, every careful gesture, every moment of focused attention." The exhibition had another unprecedented feature: a working area where visitors could sign up for shifts helping maintain the gallery. "It's not about the task," Timothy explained to those who questioned this unusual addition. "It's about the approach the attention, the care. As the night drew to a close, Timothy quietly resumed his cleaning duties, even as people continued to admire his paintings. This simple act, perhaps more than any curatorial statement or critical analysis, demonstrated the truth of his message. "Look," Bruce said to a group of young artists watching Timothy work, "this is the real masterpiece, not just the paintings on the walls, but the way he approaches every moment as an opportunity to create beauty." The exhibition would run for 3 months, drawing visitors from around the world. But for Timothy, each day would begin and end the same way, with a mop, a bucket, and the opportunity to demonstrate that true art exists not in the finished product, but in the mindful attention brought to every action. Leave a comment below sharing how Timothy's story has influenced your own approach to work and creativity. Has it helped you find the artistry in your daily tasks? Remember to like and subscribe for more stories that remind us that extraordinary beauty often hides in the most ordinary moments. And remember, as Timothy Snow continues to teach us through both his paintings and his daily work, every moment offers an opportunity to create something beautiful. The only question is whether we're paying attention enough to recognize it. Share this video if you believe in the power of finding beauty in everyday tasks. Together, we can help spread Timothy's message that true artistry isn't about what you do. It's about how you do it. As the gallery lights dimmed on that historic evening, Timothy's freshly cleaned floors reflected the soft illumination like mirrors, each surface telling its own story of care and attention. In these quiet moments, the truth of his message resonated most clearly, that art isn't something we create separate from life. It's how we choose to live each moment, approach each task, and honor each opportunity to bring beauty into the world.